It's also a favorite of Allied intelligence agents from both sides. Thus, on a personal level, many a conqueror is conquered, as he has been since time immemorial. On the official level, however, non-fraternization is still in force. The world premiere of the film Operation Titanic at the Titania Palast is for the military only. The Allies remain among themselves. When Ingrid Bergman comes to Berlin, she performs only for the Americans. Germans are not admitted. By contrast, Soviet attractions seek Berlin audiences through such artists as the world-famous Alexander Chorus. For Berlin's theater life, the war's end spells liberation. 72 premieres take place in 25 theaters during the first year after the war. Brecht's Threepenny Opera is performed again after a 12-year ban. So is Lessing's message of religious tolerance. Natan the Wise One. Goethe's Faust is an old favorite. But Thornton Wilder's Our Town is apparently too American for the Russians. It's dropped from the program of the Deutsche Theater, located in the Soviet sector. For the first time in years, Charlie Chaplin movies are shown again. September 7th. The Four Allies hold a military parade to mark their victory over Japan. Contrary to what was agreed, the Soviets send the largest contingent in full dress, replete with medals. It's all part of the Soviet game to overshadow the Western Allies and make themselves appear as the strongest in Berlin. But it's a game which the British, French, and Americans will no longer play. However, at the Allied Control Council meetings, the game continues. There was agreement on Germany's past, but none on its future. The political symbols of the past are easy enough to erase, and German military disarmament took care of itself in the Battle of Berlin. But the reality of the past is far worse than its symbols. During the summer, a mass grave is discovered within the city. These were foreign workers and political opponents of the regime, killed in the very last days of the war. On September 9th, Berliners commemorate the millions who died all over Europe, victims of the Nazi terror. Over 1 million Germans were sent to Nazi concentration camps or prisons by Hitler. Among these, Berliners figured prominently. Of the 160,000 Jews who lived in Berlin in June 1933, 90,000 managed to escape abroad. 62,000 were murdered in concentration camps. Only 8,000 survived in the city or in the camps. Of Berlin's 40 synagogues, only 3 survived the infamous Crystal Night pogrom of 1938 and the war itself. In May 1945, a Jewish service is held again in the city. The war also destroyed more than half of all Christian churches. Services must often be held in the ruins. The clergy are the first to re-establish communications with the outside world, and the first to arrange relief shipments. These are forerunners of the millions of packages later to arrive under the American Care Program. The Soviet Commandant, General Besserin, gives no evidence that he expects his Western counterparts to stay in the city very long as they take up their seats at the 4-power Kommandantura. Berlin is an island in Soviet-occupied territory. What could possibly move the West to stay here very long and concern itself with the city's 2 million people and how to feed them in this desert of rubble? But the Soviets are wrong. To the signposts written in Cyrillic letters are added others. These point the way to French, British, and American installations. On November 11th, the Soviet War Memorial is dedicated in the Tiergarten Park. Since the monument stands in the British sector, the Western Allies send delegations in a last manifestation of public unity. As the cold weather approaches, the British decide to evacuate 50,000 children from their sector and have them spend the winter in Oldenburg and Hanover. Through this Operation Stork, they hope to save at least these children from the hunger and cold that's in store for all Berliners. At first, the Russians misunderstand this humanitarian action and take it as one more proof that the Western Allies mean to quit the isolated city. But the Western powers do not quit, and the Berliners themselves either can't quit or won't. Instead, they prepare for winter, each in his own way. On the Kurfürstendamm, even those few trees that had been spared now come down. Cigarette rations are offered for fuel. The play must go on, even if the theater is cold. And, as every year at Christmas time, Humperdinck's Hansel and Gretel is billed at the Opera House. What presents can one find to give this year? Perhaps an old horseshoe for luck. Or maybe a little pile of firewood to bring some warmth on Christmas Eve. It is doubtlessly the poorest Christmas fare in the history of Berlin. The Americans have been giving serious thought to moving the entire population of their sector to West Germany. So hopeless is their estimate of the situation. But the plan is dropped. The Berliners know nothing about the plan. All they know is that this is the first Christmas in peace. The first Christmas without a blackout in many years. And they know that their city will live. ends the year 1945, the year of the Battle of Berlin. In the future yet lies the blockade and airlift, the 1953 uprising in East Berlin, the Khrushchev ultimatum, and the building of the infamous wall. In the future, too, lie years of toil to rebuild the city. What else may yet be in store for Berlin?